keeps holding this world together. Ain't nothing better, ain't nothing better, and all the answers to our prayers. Hell, it's the same everywhere. It's the same now. Nothing ever breaks at the heart. Only tears, baby, the shame now. Then you're right where I found you, oh baby, with my arms around you, oh baby, oh baby, 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 love is a magic word now, yeah, few ever find in a lifetime. But from that very first look in your eyes, I knew you and I had but one heart. Only our bodies were apart. That was so easy, so easy, baby. I had a taste of the real world. When I went down on you, never stop. Only you believe like I believe, like I believe we get by. Only you believe in miracles, so would I. Only you believe like I believe, like I believe we get by. Only you believe in miracles, so would I. Can hear windmills and rainbows whenever you tell me, never say never. I feel like swirling and dancing whenever you're walking with me. You ripple like a river when I touch you. When I pluck your body like a string. When I start dancing inside you, oh baby, make me wanna sing. Yeah, I love you so, baby, baby, oh yeah, alright, baby, we're sure doing it tonight. Every time you come by, let me try. Pretty please, with sugar on it. That's how I like it. Ooh, I can't
All right, and why is the camera not showing? Oh, because I got the lid down. There we go. That was a backup in case somebody walked in unexpectedly. Well, hello, Glue Troopers. Max of Max's Models here. And, I got to turn the volume down on the iPad. Guys, Steve, you want to give me a sound check? Yeah, you want to give me a sound check real quick?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ken's on the road today, so he won't be with us this evening. And so let's let everybody get somebody in there. Can you guys hear us okay? Make sure I got everything. I'm showing we're registering well. Okay, they can hear us fine.
Garfield just put up, so did Max do a smash and grab at the local hobby store?
Yeah. Hey, Daniel. And again, Daniel, thank you for those models. I appreciate it. I just saw somebody make a comment earlier about the 4-seat Skyraiders. So we're going to be talking about starting off. Well, you think I should start off with the smash and grab first and then get into the models, or should I save that for last?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start off with the smash and grab.
Okay, guys. So today I had a mishap. Now you'll notice this cab that I'm showing right now actually has some room in it because I moved some of the models out. My wife bought me it was an IKEA cabinet okay, let me scroll through real quick. Okay, here you can see the two cabinets. The one on the right is the old cabinet. The one on the left is the new one just got. They're identical because we all know how quick you run out of shelf space, and I did have no place to put my model. So these are the ones on the right are the ones that actually survived my childhood. Actually, my brother's childhood. My younger brother did the F105G, the Mosquito, and the F104. I repainted them or touched them up later, but they're original childhood builds. The Tweet and the Aurora Crusader on the bottom, I built several times as a kid. I built those about 15 years ago, so they're original kits, but they're not the original ones I built as a kid. Of course, the Aurora C119 on top. The ones on the left side are all of my favorite Jack Linwood box arts with the appropriate model in front of them, except the zero on the bottom, which is by a different company. Anyway, so the one on the left is the new one. I got it all together. Everything was fine. The only problem was the top magnet would not latch. The magnet, what it was is there was a gap in the door. And I noticed there was a slight bow in the glass door, so I thought maybe if I just took it out, turned it around. You had to loosen a couple of friction screws because they don't have springs in the plungers where you just take them down, so you actually have to take the hinge off. And it's only a half turn of 2 screws. And the thing was, on the base, you can see the base is an inch off the floor. And if I had been wearing these gloves that were given to me by a glue trooper with the grabby palms, probably none of this would have happened. These were out in the shed. And this could have prevented a real mishap. So I get the top hinge off and move the door a little bit. And as soon as I do, I don't know if it slipped or what, or if it caught on a corner. But, I mean, it literally exploded. And when I say exploded, you didn't hear a crack. It was bam, like a bomb, like a gunshot going off. Sounded like a pistol crack. And that was there as fast as in the wink of an eye. And I got, and I don't want to give you guys too much visual here for your own good mental health, but being that I was warm from having, built this thing and moved it around and stuff, I had taken my shirt off, rolled up my jammy pants, and was wearing Crocs without socks. No, I had socks on. There's a mental, let that mental image soak into your head as you're trying to drift off to sleep tonight. You thought clowns gave you nightmares. Anyway, so I held perfectly still. My wife heard it and came in to see what happened. So the first thing we had to do was, my brain is still processing what happened. First thing we look, I'm not cut, did not get a single scratch, but I'm showered in safety glass. And we brushed the chunks off and everything very lightly and got it off most of my body. But I had what looked like glitter because all the microscopic little bits of glass that had showered me. And nothing got in my eyes, thank God. So with my Crocs on, I stepped out of the pile of glass and denuded myself right there so that I didn't drag any glass into the bedroom or anything. Went straight in, took a long, cold, warm shower to make sure it all rinsed off of me. And I believe I got it all off. The clothes immediately went in the laundry, and we spent quite a bit of time sweeping it up. And the thing is not that this is good, this is bad, but it was the door. So the shelves are still operational. And that glass, you can see how far it's scattered. It covered a good chunk of the room. But most of it was right there. So it took quite a while to get it all cleaned up and move the shelves, make sure we got up underneath them and everything. And then put the models on there. And when we were all said and done, I let the Roomba run around for a few hours. And every once in a while you'd hear that little, creaky, clicky sound of it grabbing, another little piece of glass, mainly out of the grout. And it did a really good job, too. God bless the robots. When they take over, I'm sure they'll take care of the world. But anyway.
Sure wasn't the neighbor next door who didn't like the Tarbis in the backyard taking a shot?
That should be so lucky. Anyway, now here's the amazing part about all this, though. My wife, once we got everything organized, she's on the interweb with IKEA trying to find a replacement door, and they said, well, we don't really have any replacement doors, but what we do have is we can send you another unit. And she goes, okay, that's fine. How much is that going to cost? And God bless IKEA and their customer service. She was like, oh no, it won't cost you anything. We'll just it'll be from us, our gift. I'm like, really?
God bless the Swedes.
So they're going to send us another one. And like, well, you want us to send this other? No, you don't have to send anything back. It happens. I think they're just happy not to be getting sued or anything. So that's the story on that. And trying to turn the picture back on, it won't come back. Oh, there we go. But it did create, by moving those models, you'll notice my current shelves are not so cluttered as they were before. Of course, at what expense, but that's why we got it to begin with. But there's actually some room on here, some 148 scale jets that aren't eating up everything in sight. And even have a little, we try to have everything with a theme. On the left side, you got the interceptors, the CF-105 and the F-106, or excuse me, F-102. And then you got on the right side, you got the SR-71 underneath it, the MiG-21 that was designed to go shoot it down. And we try to keep sort of all helicopters down below. But here's the, like Korean War era stuff, post-Korean War era stuff. And anyway, this was, it kind of ruined the morning, but we're getting another shelf. And my wife insisted this time that we go ahead and pay for the people who put it together. I'm like, well, I put this one together. And she was like, you know what? Fine. this way, if something breaks, it's on them. And she was right. It will keep it'll keep both our stress levels down to just let them come in and put it together. That's fine. I don't care what it costs. I'm not worried about that. We'll find out. We might put it. I might put it right here behind me where this is at, or we may put it in her office so that she can use it. But anyway, that's the story on the shells, which is why I use that particular little icon for the meme for the icon for this video with the little guy with the crashing shells. We've all had it, and that's what I wanted to ask everybody about was, have you guys ever had some, because I put it down here, serious modeling accidents, and I definitely count this as a serious modeling accident. Thank God no models were on the shelves at the time. But I'm sure you guys have all had some kind of mishap of this nature. A shelf collapse. And it's not the first time I've had a shelf fall down. This is the first time it was... Well, actually, no. I think years ago I had a glass shelf fall down and crush some stuff. But, you tend to forget those things, believe it or not. And I'm just wondering what you guys have had happen. And... but
Killer wants to know if Honey rides the Roomba.
No, and we tried to get her to. We thought it'd make a great cat video. She is not a Roomba cat.
Wow.
And, so, if I ever see her riding the Roomba, I am totally taking video of that, but I just do not see that happening. So you guys can put down there, what big boo-boos you've had or something. We might compare stories at some point. So, anyway, that's the great story, the great calamity. But, I try to be, big world about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, that this is not a cool thing to have happen. But, no one was harmed. And that's the important thing. There is one thing, though, that I find kind of interesting, and that is that if you look at this one, you'll notice that... Oops. Let me pause that. That's not the one I want. Here. If you look at these pictures, the one thing you'll notice, and of course I know the whole idea behind having it... Okay, I thought I paused you. Come back here. Okay, back. Pause. Okay. If you look at this, one thing you'll notice is that although the glass in front protects the model and helps keep the dust off of it, the one on the left that doesn't have the glass door, you can actually see the models better. Yeah. And if a wing or something sticks out a little bit, you got a little extra room. So, not all bad. But I tell you, my biggest complaint with plastic models is just so bloody delicate, But, that's the hobby. That's the way it goes. So, that was that. Now, I have been working today on this monogram T28 Trojan, which I have right here on the desk, and I'll show you in a second. We'll talk about it. But I built this kit as a kid, and I don't know how many times I built it. I know I built it at least once. I tend to think I probably did it more than that. One of the things is I built so many models as a kid, and the dime stores I bought my kits at only had so much of a selection, so it was not uncommon that, I would repeat the kit. But I had forgotten just how rough a kit this is, how hard it is to make the parts fit and everything. What? Oh, okay. It didn't dawn on me just how, for lack of a better word, inaccurate the kit is. Now, here is the T28 model, and let me just make this transform, fit the screen. As long as I'm doing this, we'll blow it up a little bit. Now, here it is, and parts inside are lopsided, and I'm not sure that's not me, but it doesn't have a very detailed cockpit, which monogram kits of this era were not really known for detailed cockpits, which is sad because it's got so much open space you can actually see the inside. But you look at these gaps, they're enormous. And, of course, because monogram had the play value, they have a lot of inaccuracy in them. And one of the inaccuracies is it has a one-piece gear door with a little tab on it so you can pluck it down. And there's the gear door. It's all one piece. Okay. Evidence Exhibit A, Your Honor. But here is a photograph of a real T-28 Trojan. And you'll notice that the main landing gear has a three-piece door. One for the wheel, one for the inner wheel, which is up under the fuselage. And then it has a two-piece main gear door that splits as the gear comes down and then stretches into position as the gear retracts, which you see on a P-47 Thunderbolt and actually quite a few aircraft. But you look at this one and it's just one piece. That's all you get. So, and this has a retractable landing gear on it, although I'll probably make it wheels down. But if you're going to do any kind of display, you're either going to have to cut one out of stock styrene or cut that one up and reshape it. Or you can just, to heck with it. I'm just going to make it wheels up. And you're going to need a lot of weight in the nose of this thing because that's a lot of plastic back there in the tail. And, not only the huge gaps in the wings, there's big gaps on the cowling and every place. And under the tail, I mean, you can literally, look, you can see daylight through there. Okay? And even on this little web camera, you can you can see the daylight through it. So I mean, don't get me wrong. This is probably a mid-60s mold that sold for about $1. I think is what I paid for it. Probably less, 75, 85 cents when it first came out. So don't expect too much. And it does have the play value with the working gear and everything. Although you do it a couple times, it's going to break. That's just what they do. And I have such fond memories of it as a kid. And I look at it now, like, I'm a guy, I didn't appreciate it. But, I was 10 years old, so it didn't matter. It was good enough. But,
this is part of the discussion that we've had before, is that when you're a kid, you build these kits, and you're like, oh, yeah, they look great. And then you look back at them now, and you say to yourself, these things were horrible.
Well,
because your expectation level now is much higher to make it perfect.
Well, that brings, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But that brings up another thing. If you look at the picture on the side with the canopy on, because this has a sliding opening rear canopy, and you see the canopy open, okay? But, as memory serves me, the T-28, those are two separate canopies, if I'm not mistaken. And I suppose they can be opened independently. I have a picture somewhere of me standing by one that's got the canopy cranked open, but the rear canopy slides over the fuselage, and the forward canopy slides over that middle instrument panel. I don't know if they're hooked together and have to open together or not. They may be independent, but I don't see that front canopy opening unless that rear canopy opens. Although the rear canopy may open separately, but they give you the option of having this. In fact, here's the instruction sheet. I'm going to show you. You have the rear opening canopy. All right. There, that slides back. That's the rear, but the front canopy is one fixed piece of acrylic. So if you want to open the front canopy, you're going to have to razor saw this or vacuum form it or something. And here's the rear canopy section, which is nice that it's separate because you can paint it before you glue it in. There's very little masking that'll have to be done, just the windshield basically. You could probably just dip the rear of it. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that's that's odd. But I guess it was a way of getting a little play value on the cheap. And they weren't going to get too, you look at the rest of the kit and you realize they were not going to get too into the weeds on it. But, and there's the picture of it. I will give them credit. They did two separate artworks, because there's the artwork with the rear canopy open, and then the front artwork with the airplane in training flight. And that got me to look up the Trojan. Now, I grew up in the Panhandle of Florida, not too far from Moultrie, Georgia, which had Spence Field. And if I'm not mistaken, this T-28 was based at Spence Field. That's what an Air Force T-28 looked at, like Spence Air Base. And they were... I remember seeing a lot of Navy T-28s as a kid. I think the Air Force had already moved to jets. They got away from props after a while. But, you know, this is an airplane. You can look at the tail and tell it's made by the same people who, you know, brought you the P-51 Mustang. It's got that P-51 shaped tail. You know, North American loved that design, and it worked. But the airplane, I know I have sat in them. I've never flown one. I know a lot of people who have, and apparently it is a rock solid airplane. I mean, just very stable, easy to fly with tricycle gear. You got that big radial up front, but it's fully aerobatic, built like a tank, and not terribly fast, but it's not supposed to be. It's a trainer. But the airplanes, especially the Navy, used them, I think, longer than the Air Force, because I remember seeing the Navy ones as a kid. I don't recall seeing any Air Force ones. But anyway, there are a few kits of the airplane, not too many, and Monogram was probably the first company to make one. And this airplane was actually used as a combat aircraft in a lot of countries, including by the Laotian Air Force and the South Vietnamese Air Force. So it's actually a legit warbird. But you see a lot of them at air shows. A lot of them survived, and a lot of them are still around. Now, they had between a 600 and 1,000 horsepower engine. A lot of the later Navy ones have a different shaped cowling because they have a bigger engine. And that was because they were operating them off aircraft carriers for training. So a lot of guys made their first carrier trap in one of these things. But I guess it was a step up from the old AT-6 and S&J because it was tricycle gear. But can you imagine being in the South Georgia sun and that plexiglass bubble down at 3,000, 2,000 feet shooting traffic patterns? That got warm under the stress of training. But anyway, so for nostalgia's sake, I love this old kit. But I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to win any awards with this thing. It is very much a kit of its time. Although the artwork's pretty accurate, including a lot of times they had dark olive drab glare shields instead of black. And there's no uniform paint scheme. I went on and looked like the old Spence Field website, and they had photos of all their training aircraft. And man, it's like every couple of years they changed the paint scheme just to be different. As different things became in vogue. Anyway, front canopy does slide back. Yeah, you have to slide the rear canopy first. Okay, so I guess they are independent then. So the model's not inaccurate, but they just give you only the rear canopy slides. And all the times I've seen them, I've only seen them with both canopies slid back, but I'm sure that's because both people wanted to get out. And one thing I have noticed, though, as soon as these things land, you see the same thing with the T-34 Mentors and all these airplanes, and sometimes even the T-37 jets. As soon as they land, the canopies, or as soon as they get off the runway, the canopies are up, but because you're in this plexiglass bubble and the sun's just raining down on you. But anyway, but the Trojan is a legit warbird, and it's you could make you very easily convert this into a combat configured one, but the Monogram, I don't know if they had the first one, but they definitely had one of the early ones, and let me take a quick look here at scale mates real fast, just out of curiosity. I don't. It seems like I saw one somewhere else. Yeah, Strombecker made one. There we go. I knew I was missing something. I know Guilo's made one, but that's balsa, so I'll kind of put that in a different world. But Strombecker made one in the 50s. And, apparently a couple of companies decided to make it more recently. Kitty Hawk is making one. And it's fairly new. I don't know why somebody has AMG's got a T-28 and Blue Angels markings. I don't know if they ever did. Bondi Monogram, 1976. I didn't realize they ever teamed up. But let's see here, 95, 90, yeah, I know it goes back further than that. 75, 73, 68. Yeah, I knew that one had been around about 65. So this is, I think this is 57. Yeah, this box art is the old 1957 box art. And so there's a 56 in Navy marking. So yeah. But apparently back then it was primarily just monogram. Heller made one, and a lot of these are much more modern. So that's what I suspected. Anyway, so the T28 kit is a fun nostalgia build, but I am not going to call it a great kit. And the other thing we got, hop into another airplane, was this Vietnam Caribou. And my buddy Donovan, my late buddy Donovan, the fellow who I got the Mustang from, who sadly passed away, he actually was a mechanic in these things in the Army. And you'll notice there's also a Dash 8. I'd forgotten that the person who sent this to me had put two kits in one box. So I have the very modern Dash 8, and I also have the Caribou. Now this Caribou, great airplane, and the Army managed to keep it. And of course this one has the weather radar on the nose. The Army managed to keep it as a true short takeoff and landing airplane. These things can literally get out of a tennis court. They're not very fast. My friends on the Golden Knights had the last one in the Army. They got rid of it, probably in the 70s. And the Air Force, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Key West Agreement, but it was the one that basically set up the Air Force became an independent branch. They all got met down in Key West and came to an agreement that the Air Force would have all combat fixed-wing aircraft. The Army could have helicopters. And by the way, the Key West Agreement and the whole thing about helicopters became a big deal with the Cheyenne, but that's another story. Anyway, they allowed the Army to keep a handful of fixed-wing aircraft that were strictly support aircraft, logistics aircraft. So they got to keep the Bird Dogs, the old Cessna Bird Dogs, and they got to keep the Caribous. And they got to keep the Beach Barons for training and the Queen Airs and King Airs for VIP transport. The Caribou, they got to keep one. I mean, the Air Force had them also. But the Army's like, we're only going to use them for administrative supply missions. Because you can always trust the Army to keep their word about not using a piece of equipment in combat. They use the Caribous for everything. In fact, do you remember the movie The Green Berets with John Wayne? The Caribou is what him and his team parachuted into North Vietnam in. Like, a Caribou had a prayer of flying up into North Vietnam and not getting shot down. Of course, I think that was all filmed at Fort Benning. But anyway. So, the Caribou was a very interesting airplane. There's still a few of them flying. I actually saw one in West Palm Beach a few years ago that had been converted to a turboprop. And the airplane was so popular as a short takeoff aircraft that the Canadians continued to make an updated version of it called the Buffalo. And the way you can tell a Buffalo at a glance, it looks a lot like a Caribou, but it's got a T-tail and turbine engines. Anyway, and it's a niche airplane, but it was the same company that later gave us the Dash 8, which is an extremely popular regional airliner. And while we're on that point, I know we're talking about Vietnam aircraft today, but I got to throw this one thing out. The Dash 8 is out, except the Q400, the long one, is still in production, but the Dash 8 200, 300, like you see in this picture, are out of production. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of the regional airlines wanted to buy more of them, and they couldn't find them. The airplanes were literally flown to the end of their service life. And there's an airline called LIAT, Leeward Island Air Transport, down in the Caribbean. And they're a Caribbean carrier that flew Dash 8s forever. Well, they got so old that they couldn't even Q check them. They were like, sorry, these planes have to be retired. The cost of refurbishing one was up there with the cost of a new airplane, which the airline could not afford. So they had to find a replacement. There were no Dash 8s to be had. So they got the ATRs, 42s. And I asked the guys about it, and they were like, it's an okay airplane, but they really prefer the Dash 8s. The Canadians, and I've flown the Canadair Challenger, the Canadians make a bulletproof airplane. It's funny. Canada does not get enough respect for their accomplishments in aviation. I mean, airplanes like the Caribou and the Beaver and the Otter and the Dash 8 and the CF-105 Aero. I mean, they're really, bellwether aircraft, and people just kind of, and everybody uses them, but no one seems to notice. But anyway, that being said, it had a good lineage because the Caribou was a super popular airplane. It was the only plane at the time that pretty much could do what it did at its size. And the Army eventually got rid of them, and the Air Force was not real thrilled with some of the shenanigans the Army was pulling with them that bordered very closely on combat operations. Now, another airplane the Army had, besides the little bird dog, was the V-10 Mohawk, and it was technically just a military intelligence aircraft, a spy plane with a SLAR, side-looking radar. And let's just say, I'm pretty sure some guys in the Army did some stuff that would qualify as real combat pilot stuff. But they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. The Caribou, like I said, the last one was the airplane that was used for the Golden Knights parachute team. And eventually they replaced it with a Fokker 27. And it's been replaced with something else now. Maybe it might be a Dash 8. Anyway, great airplane. I look forward to doing the build on it. And since my buddy worked on him, he showed me a scar on his hand that he got from pulling an exhaust off of one that cut him. And he goes, it was my own fault. I got drunk the night before and I was still hungover when I was working on it. And I'm like, Bill, your stories never get old. Anyway, but there's a few of them in museums, a couple of them still flying. One at the Fort Rucker Museum and Army Markings, and it's a good-sized airplane. But I look forward to doing the kit. And there aren't that many kits of it available, so I'm very fortunate to have this, and even harder to find the ones of the Dash 8. And there are two airplanes about the same size. But in fact, if you want to see some interesting footage of a Caribou making a short takeoff and landing, watch that documentary where Daryl Greenemeyer tried to go up and get Kiwi Bird out of, what was it, Iceland at B-29 they found that had landed. And they're being resupplied by one of those, by a Caribou. And I mean, the thing just, you hear the engines rev up, the nose comes up, and she's airborne. And when she lands, she just hits the ground and stops. Amazing. Now, speaking of Vietnam aircraft, you guys might recognize this old Aurora F8 Crusader, and this is the one that's on my shelf right now, and with the completely wrong proportion chin scoop. And the last of the gunfighters. And the way Aurora built this one, if you notice, the guns are shooting through the intake. I mean, it's like, guys, I do not think that is shaped the way you think that is shaped. But I built it a couple of times as a kid, didn't even have money for paint, but this is the one where the tail comes off, it's got the engine, and which is grossly off scale. And it's got the folding landing gears, and I made everything work on this one. The wheels go up and down, and I finally glued the tail on because I got tired of it just sagging. And it's really a crappy kit, but the artwork was so good, and I couldn't resist it. And as a kid, it was good enough. I've got it in the markings of a squadron that was here in Jacksonville for a while, and it's funny building models. Part of how I learned how the military rotates squadrons and stuff. And unlike a lot of places, apparently in the Navy, squadrons are not organic to a ship. They basically are guests. So this squadron can go out on one aircraft carrier for one cruise, and then go out on another aircraft carrier for another cruise. And although they'll always paint the name of the ship that they're based on the side, but they'll scrape that off and paint on the next one. And the way this one is painted, it's not currently assigned to a ship. It's between cruises because it doesn't have a ship name on it. And you learn all these little quirks about, how they do things. And That model is just so wrong at so many levels. What? Steve?
Yes?
Oh, I thought you said something.
Nope.
It looks like a blobfish. Yeah, it kind of does. And it's funny, though, that a middle-aged grown man can get so much joy from a model he knows is a crappy kit and completely wrong. But it reminds him of, when he was a kid building them down in his bedroom. And it's that nostalgia thing. And one of these days I might buy a real F8 Crusader, that looks good. And, but I didn't buy this because it was a good kit. I bought it because, I built it as a kid. Now, here's a kit I'm looking forward to working on, which is on my Vietnam desk right now. I have all the Vietnam kits pretty much on my table right now for the Vietnam build coming up. And I may have to push that back depending on how the workload gets. But this is interesting. They molded the entire airplane. There's just two sides. Boom. No nose cone to add or tailpipe. It's just the two sides. Wham. And it's another monogram kit, which is not bad. But I'm not getting my expectations up because I'm looking at them going, it's for what it is, it's fine. But, if you notice something, even right here on the box art, the airplane on the box art, you see gaps, like where the pylons go to the mount onto the wings. Oops, wait a minute. Come back here. Go back. It's not responding to commands. Oh God, the computers have taken over.
It's Hal.
Okay, pause.
There it is.
Okay, now, let's see if it stays there. Nope. Go back.
Oh, it's in the background.
Here we go. Nope.
And that occurrence is a fault of the person who took the picture of the plane.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to lock this thing.
If you would have changed the angle and moved it more to the right and got more of a side view, it would have been hidden behind the missiles.
Yeah, but the thing is that when the quote unquote professional model builder, the expert model builder, who's making it for the box art, and one could argue that, well, these are pylons that are bolted onto the airplane. There would naturally be a seam. Okay, I could buy that, but there's no detail on the bombs. There's no markings on them. They're just olive drab. And in other words, you're getting at, this is a very competent build. It's nicely done. I don't want to knock the guy's work, but there's a certain lack of detail, which when this box, judging by the fact that it's a photo of the finished model, I'm going to say 71 probably. And molded in gray. So you only need to buy white paint and olive drab and black, kids. But what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing when I look at this, and don't get me wrong, in 1975 when I was looking at this, I gotta have that. But I'm looking at it now with a middle-aged man who used to, working on Tamiya kits and seeing things with 10,000 parts, and I'm like, ooh, what a lack of detail.
They also puttied the crap out of it. Look, there's no seams.
Actually, if you look at the leading edge of the wing, you can see the seam a little bit.
Yeah, but look at the nose and look at the rear tail.
Yeah, they polished that down a lot.
Yeah,
That's got more Bondo than a third-hand Dodge.
Yeah, you got that right. Now, you have to understand, when you say professional model builders,
we're talking about guys like you and Andy who worked at the factory and they know build nice models. Here's a couple of kits. Go make one nice for the box art.
Yeah, because I built showroom models and package models when I worked at Lesney. So,
And you and I both know that there isn't a model builder out there that would not love to have their build on a box top.
Oh, it's like Nirvana.
It's the Academy Award of model building. Okay. Yeah. It's one. One of the proudest model building moment of my life is my little Cherokee from Aurora I got in Fine Scale Modeler.
Let me tell you something. There's nothing better for a modeler. Like to see their models on TV, like when you do the viewers' builds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just like, makes your hair stand up. Hey, there's my kid on TV.
I did that. And it's a wonderful thing. It really is, because, you work hard and you get just a hint of recognition for a moment. It's nice. Then I look at this, and like I say, 1975 Max would have been, oh man, that's awesome. I wish I could build it that good. But 2023 Max looks at it and goes, man, there's no seeker warhead on the Sidewinder. There's no fusing mechanism on the bombs. There's no markings on anything. I can see the gaps. Now, don't get me wrong. Before I get too far down the rabbit hole, allow me to remind you that I know that I still probably couldn't make one as nice as what we're looking at. So I want to be very clear to point that out.
Trey says this thing's had a better facelift than Joan Rivers.
So anyway, all I'm getting at is that the models are, they're of their time. That is what I wanted to say. They're not bad kits, but they are of their time. And you guys can see the rough edges that I'm going to have to file down and everything. And believe it or not, the A7 is one airplane I actually think I'll make this gear down, because I think it looks kind of cool squatting on its gear, because it's got that bent nose bruiser look. Like, come on, you want to pick a fight with me, kid? Huh? I'll kick your butt all the way back to Queens. Or Brooklyn, depending on which side you live on. Yeah. But, and the thing is, the A7 is really a good airplane. The only chance I got a chance to get close to an active duty A7 was at a air show. I think I want to say it was in Lakeland, Florida, or Lake City, I think. It was a fly-in, and the Air Force sent down 3 A-10s, one of which was a reserve Air Force, and the Navy sent an A7. And even by then, because we're talking about the late 80s, mid to late 80s, the airplanes were nearing retirement. And there was a young Navy lieutenant flying the thing. It might have been a Lieutenant JG. But anyway, he was off getting a hot dog. He had a little stool so everybody could get up and just look in the cockpit. The canopy, of course, was locked down. I looked in the cockpit, and it was all round dials and steam gauges. He had a little, radar screen in there and everything. But, and the thing showed the wear and tear. It was, little bits of fluid dripping out here and there in dribs and drabs. And, like, oh man, this airplane's a hoot to fly. It's a fun mission. They get down low and fly around. And so when he took off, to go back, he buzzed us, gave us a couple of low passes, and the thing made a ton of noise and was super cool to watch. It didn't have any ordnance on it, so it was, I don't know what bay. It probably came from Jacksonville, probably a short hop for him. But the airplane had a certain, even though it was a kind of a bent nose bruiser looking airplane, it had a certain cool factor to it. And you see him in you see him in Final Countdown. It was just a purpose. People don't forget. They tend to forget this was not a fighter; it was a bomber. It had a couple of missiles in case it got caught in a dogfight or something. And it did have a Gatling gun on it, but primarily it was a bomber. And I think we lost one in the raid on Libya. The pilot ejected, but we got him back. But it's a single engine jet, so you cough a motor or something happens, you're coming down. In fact, it's one of the last single engine jets I think the Navy ever maybe the last single engine jet the Navy ever operated off of carriers. But anyway, cool airplane. I like it. Did a lot of service for both services. I know the Air Force had them and the Navy had them, and I don't know if the Marines had any or not. They may have. But I know the Navy and the Air Force had them. They used the heck out of them. And this is back when we had, different airplanes for different missions. The Navy had the Skyhawk for light bombing, this for medium bombing, and the Intruder for deep interdiction and heavy bombing. And the Air Force had the Dragonfly, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and the Thunder Chief and the Phantom, and then for the heavier bombing, of course, B-52s. Deep interdiction, they had the F-111. So now everything's multi-role. That's one reason the military has less airframes, which means less parts you have to supply airplanes for. But still, a cool airplane. I've always liked it. I've always felt it was the unappreciated. unappreciated. What they call the slug, slow, ugly guy or something like that. But I love it. I wouldn't mind flying one. And speaking of the Dragonfly, this is a 1/72nd scale A37B Dragonfly from Academy. And it's got 100+ parts to it. And they give you 2 decal options, with the South Korean Air Force or U.S. Air Force. And of course, the one you see there is U.S. Air Force. And away you can tell that at a glimpse, it's got the refueling probe on the nose. But and by the way, although they identified him, for a long time, the Air Force's man in the tomb of the unknown soldier turned out was a guy named a lieutenant named Blasey, who was a Dragonfly pilot who was shot down right at the very end of the Vietnam War and crashed. It did not have a 0-0 ejection seat in it. It was basically a beefed up Cessna Tweet with bigger engines. And they put a pair of T-38 engines in it and could carry a surprising amount of ordnance. But it was a good close-in airplane, and it was used by several air forces around the globe that were friendly to the U.S. who needed a low-cost bomber. And oh gosh, who had them? I think the Colombians had some, the Philippines might have had some, the South Koreans. A lot of countries used them because they were affordable, and it was a proven platform, easy to fly. But this kit's a little on the intimidating side because you got so freaking many parts at 1/72nd scale, and it's going to be I think the parts fit will be okay, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to to work at the 1/72nd scale is always a challenge, especially with old eyes and old hands. But interesting airplane, and I saw one at I think it was at Keesler at the little outdoor air museum, and you walk up to the airplane, and of course it's still a T-37. It sits low on the ground, so when you walk up to it, you actually walk up and look down in the cockpit. It's just a squat little airplane. And I built some of these later Academy kits like the Stuka. They have a really good fit and a lot of parts and a lot of detail. People pick on Academy, but I actually have had pretty good luck with them. But I will be doing at some point, hopefully, I have to be careful about saying when, but we're talking about the Skyraider. I have one Skyraider I built a long time ago that's in the Tarbis. It was the old monogram kit in Navy markings from Korea. But I have 4 Skyraiders that have been gifted to me by Glue Troopers. I believe they're all 1/48 scale, and they're all Vietnam era. And so I'm going to build them all and do a comparison. One of them is the monogram kit, and it may very well be the exact same kit I've already got on the shelf, just in Air Force markings. I won't know until I get into it. It's in a much bigger box. But it doesn't say Pro Modeler Series, so I assume it's just the same kit. And it's the kind of kit you can build a model in a day easy. The problem, the trick is in painting it, because you have so much ordnance that goes on there. And they give a lot of decals and everything. And, what's a Skyraider without ordnance? I mean, the airplane could carry more tonnage than a B-17. Not nearly as far, but still. And yes, this airplane, which was designed by Douglas during World War II and almost made the war, but it got finished off a little too late. But the Skyraider, and there were a lot of competing products of the Skyraiders, countless videos out on YouTube, I think from Rex's Hangar and Greg's Airplane and Automobiles, and those may be the wrong website or YouTube channels, but I've seen a lot of videos on the Skyraider, and the airplane, heck, Wings, the old series, Wings, the History series, the History Channel series, also sometimes released under the name of the Great Plains. They did an entire episode dedicated to the Skyraider, and the airplane was it one of them bagged a MiG. It was just a weird. It was a World War II design that flew almost all the way through the Vietnam War. mean, it had about almost a 30-year service life. And it saw action in Korea extensively. In fact, you see him in the movie The Bridges of Toko-Ri when they're trying to save William Holden. And, oh God, that may be the best anti-war movie ever made, but I digress. Plus, I think Frederick March is a great actor. And they saw extensive service in Vietnam. So a lot of them are still flying the air show circuit. The Flight of the Intruder, you see a lot of, there where Sandy Low lead, Sandy. They also were known as a SPAD in honor of the old World War I SPAD. And I think it is the last single-engine, piston-engine prop plane used in combat. That might go to the Bird Dog, but I know the Skyraider, the Bird Dog was a spotter. I mean, it got into combat and got shot at, but the Skyraider was really dumping ordnance on target and shooting up the bad guys. So anyway, an amazing airplane. And it might have been another Ed Heinemann design, but it was World War II technology that went well into the Cold War. You know, the pinnacle of World War II technology. And wasn't fast, but the airplane was such a truck that they realized that they could do a lot of things with that airframe. And it was just so durable. And you could launch it off a carrier, you know, and they wound up sending a bunch of them back to the factory, cutting up the fuselages, putting these big, gigantic greenhouse fuselages on them. Some of them had up to 4 crew members. And a lot of people don't realize these things were also used as squadron hacks. They would take them, especially the later model with the big canopy, but also the earlier models. There was so much hollow space in that gigantic fuselage that they would put seats in there and cut a door in the side. And I've actually seen one of these personally went up and touched it. It was at Chino in California. And it's a Plains of Fame, and I see him walking around the Skyraiders just parked down the ramp. Oh, cool. And I realize there's a door on the side. Guy's like, oh, yeah, they got like 4 passenger seats in there. And they would use them as hacks. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what Clint Eastwood was in when he was in the Army that crashed off the coast of Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story, but apparently even Paul Harvey did a thing on it years ago. Eastwood was, I believe, a swim instructor in the Army in California. And he was home on leave or a 3-day pass or something and couldn't get back to wherever his base was down in Southern California. And he found a naval aviator that was going to be taking a Skyraider that was being used as a squadron. And I could have the details of the story wrong. This is just what I pieced together. But it was a Navy Skyraider that was being used as a squadron hack, and he had space, and the pilot was like, yeah, I'm going down to Alameda, and he figured, hey, if I can get to Alameda, I can catch a bus to the base, you know, and I won't be AWOL. And so the pilot was a young lieutenant or Lieutenant JG, and Eastwood hops in the airplane, you know, and they take off, and they get down to Alameda without problem, but apparently some of that sea fog rolled in, and I don't know if the guy tried an instrument approach or not, but whatever happened, he was like, we're not going to get in. They started running out of fuel, and he tells them, look, we're going to have to ditch. So they flew a few miles offshore, and the guy did a proper ditching, and they both got out of the airplane. But apparently Eastwood, being a swim instructor, was able to swim to shore. But the pilot, they got separated, of course, but the pilot, as I understand, swam into a school of jellyfish and got stung to the point of paralysis and drowned. Really tragic story, but Eastwood made it to shore. That's the way I understand the story. That was the way it was related to me. But anyway, there's your there's your Skyraider history for the day. Assuming I've got my details right and I'm not talking out my foot again. But anyway.
Well, that's what Dirty Harry told the commission.
Have you ever had to swim to shore after crashing in a Navy airplane? I swam 3 miles through the jellyfish. Make light of it, you know. It's actually, nothing funny about that. Anyway, so I'm going to do the monogram kit. I suspect that I'm going to do Vietnam markings to go with the Korean War one I have, and I suspect that is going to be the same kit that I've already built. I was gifted 2 of the Tamiya Skyraiders, and and I was just looking at the Skyraider, the old Revell Skyraider, which is the last one. You know what? I'll wait till we get there. Typically, I have high expectations of any Tamiya kit, and I read an article on this particular one, and it's the guy was really impressed with it, and that is an actual airplane. Sock it to him. I'm not sure if that airplane survived the war or not, but I love how they got all the oil dripping on it. I mean, it's a radial engine, man. There's oil dripping on everything. But and then I also have the Navy version, which is the 1H, and my guess is non-Tamiya, they probably have the appropriate differences in them. But looking at them, I'm like, that's probably going to be the same basic kit. And I want to do side-by-side comparison builds of all four of them. Although the antennas are different, which makes sense because the services use different radios. You notice behind the canopy you have several different antennas, but they're all straight. But on the Air Force one, a couple of the antennas are angular and swept. So I'm assuming that's service-specific equipment. But the basic airplanes look the same, although they may have carried different ordnance. And one is an H and one's a J, but I don't, I have to get into the weeds on the wiki to find out what the difference in them is. And the third one, which I was talking about, is this Revell kit. Now, I actually already opened up the Revell kit, and I have to give them credit. Although it's typical of older moldings, there's some flash, and the parts are not as crisp as new stuff. But it's surprisingly detailed. There's a lot of pieces in this kit. And I fully anticipate this being a more involved build. That, I'm not sure if that is Korea or Vietnam paint scheme there, because the Navy went from blue to gray, and I'm not sure when they did that. I think the Korean warbirds were blue, so that may be Vietnam or even a peacetime marking. Although he's carrying a lot of ordnance for peacetime, he's enforced a lot of peace.
What's interesting?
What?
All three boxes show the oil exhaust coming out of the engine in the same pattern.
Oh yeah, they do. That is radial engines are famous for their consumption of oil and for leaving. Well, like they say, it's like owning a Harley Davidson. When I had my Harley, everybody used to joke that Harleys they don't leak; they mark their spot, they mark their territory, and absolutely the oil streaking is. It's part of the glory of the radial engine, and there's no, and I got to be honest with you, I've only flown a few radial engined airplanes, but I just have a soft spot for the big round motors. They're just cool, and well, since you said that, Steve, I have to tell a round engine story. It's time for round engine story time. I'm sitting in the cockpit of my sleek Canadian-built CRJ 200 at Charlotte Douglas International Airport getting ready for a flight back when we actually did our weight and balance on paper. And there is this thunderous, earth-shattering roar that goes screaming by and the whole airplane shakes. And it goes past us. And I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. My happy pilot radar is going off. Cool airplane alert. And I go dashing out of the airplane just in time to see the B-29 Fifi go roaring down the runway. She'd already passed overhead, right? And then behind her comes that LB-30, which they try to pass off as a B-24 Liberator. And it sounded like a kitten by comparison. But I mean, the airplane shook, my teeth rattled. Those big radials in that B-29 were just putting out a cacophony of and it was, then it comes in and lands, and I was like, that is one of the most awesome things I have ever seen or felt or heard. The only thing that comes close to that was when I went to Oshkosh, and they actually had 16 Mustangs, a full squadron of Mustangs fly overhead. And baby, the sound of 16 Merlins going overhead, that's just, ooh, that's music. So anyway, I've always loved radial engines, but that gave me a real soft. I mean, that just hit me where I lived. And But in fact, the T-28, although they don't show it in a lot of the pictures, but if you notice, the Navy T-28s usually have that big black stripe painted over the wing, so they don't have to keep washing the airplane because of the oil. In fact, yeah, you know what? I'll just go find a picture of Navy T-28.
Shows it in the box art. On the Tamiya one.
Box art. Let's see. Ah, well, here's an Air Force one. Close enough. No, that's not box art. Well, anyway. Okay, hold on. Just a second here. And it always cracked me up. There we go. There, perfect photo. Come on, download. VT2, copy image, put it here, paste, crop, file, save as, 2.8. That goes to live streams, 124. All the steps have to go to save this stuff. Save. Okay, here we go. Okay, close that. Plus image. Okay, browse. Here it is. This is a Navy T-28, and I guess the Navy got tired of washing the airplanes, so they came up with this solution. And the first time I remember I saw a T-28, I was like, "What was?" I kind of knew what it was for, but I was like, "You've got to be kidding!" But nope. There's the big black painted stripe on the side of the airplane, just basically to hide all the soot and smoke and exhaust that comes out of that radial. And
there you go.
All radios put that stuff out, but I guess they clumped all the exhaust pipes together where it concentrated it. But anyway, that's the dealio on that. So, not shocked. You know, absolutely got to have the soot marks. And but and by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but the Skyraider, and I don't know if it was, I think it was adopted by both services, but the Skyraiders eventually, they didn't have an ejection seat. They were World War II technology, but they invented what was called the Yankee extraction system, and it was a rocket that was mounted behind the pilot. And if he had to get out in a hurry, he pulled it, and the rocket fired and blasted him. What it did was a rocket shot off, just fired away, and the pilot, the lanyard would deploy, and then it would drag the pilot out of the airplane. And here's a picture of it. Copy image. Give me a second to get this together. Save. Plus image. Okay. That is the Yankee extraction system loaded behind his seat, because you notice that's not an ejection seat. You blow the canopy, the rocket would pop up, fire, deploy a lanyard, cut your seat belts, drag you out of the airplane skyward, and I don't know if it deployed your parachute or not, or if you had to do it on your own. But I mean, it literally just dragged you out of the airplane and took you up to altitude. Here we go. Copy image. And paste, crop, file, save as. And let's see. And plus image. Okay. Browse. There we go. And here's how it worked. It just boom chugga-lugga and out you go. So you had to get the canopy open on your own though, and see the rocket popping up there, and I think it moved forward and up, and then fires, deploys that lanyard, and whoosh, out you go. I have never heard of this thing being successfully employed. But, hey, it was better than nothing. It was a way to get the guy out of the airplane in a hurry. I mean, the American A-37B Dragonfly just had the old seats in it. They weren't 0-0 seats. You had to have some speed and altitude, because those ejection seats basically just threw you over the tail. And, of course, today, a modern ejection seat, American or Russian, the Russians make really good ejection seats because Lord knows they need them. You pull a handle, everything happens. It takes you, shoots you out, throws you up to you can be upside down, it'll turn you around, fly you up, get you to a safe altitude, kick you out of the man seat separation, kick you out of the seat, and aneroid barometer will deploy your parachute. So it's a lot more. Ejection seats are amazingly sophisticated pieces of equipment. And so the last airplane to go over is the mighty F-100. And this kit by Monogram is interesting because that entire upper fuselage and tail section is all one piece right out of the box. It does, so at least you don't have to clean up the seam lines on top. You just go down the side with them. And I guess they shot it in green because they figured a lot of kids couldn't afford paint, and that was the closest color. But anyway, that should be an interesting build. I used to have an F-100 I gave away to a kid to go play with, and I'm sure it was the same kit. Now I also have that F4 Phantom 148 scale I need to build also, but you know what? I didn't take any pictures of it because I'm a genius, a super genius. I've got this B-52, which is behind me right here, and the Martin Invader B-57. So those are a couple of kits also I might get to, depending on how much time I have. Small miracles that B-52 is a smaller scale. So, because I see guys, I've seen at the model shows, guys have these gigantic 172nd or 148 scale B-52s, and things like, you must hang that thing from the ceiling because there's no room in any table anywhere in your house for them. But this F-100, if I recall, was a pretty straightforward build. But I'm inclined to remember that Monogram kits their car kits were really well thought of, but their airplane kits kind of left a little something to be desired sometimes. They weren't bad and they were affordable. They were just, like with the MiG, the MiG is set up to be built the way it's displayed on the box. And so is the Sabre with the door exposing the guns and ammos. I'm like, if you want to close that up, you got a lot of grinding ahead of you to get that stuff to fit. Kind of wish they wouldn't do that. Take care, Bill. Good luck on the move. So, not as good as that F-100. Oh, okay. If I shot out, I would want a drink or two or four. Yeah, Trey's right. Yeah, rescue yard darts do need good seats. There's that famous footage of the guy losing it in the air show in the MiG-29. He's inverted and low and he ejects. That seat does a 180 and saved him. So they may not sell a lot of airplanes, but they're selling a lot of ejection seats. But those are the Vietnam kits I have. I forgot to take pictures of the F4 Phantom, which I'm shocked that I forgot to do that. Oh, wait a minute. Well, you know what? It's no big deal. It's the big box F100. My neighbor was a backseater in F100s in Vietnam, so I'm going to see if he can show me some pictures of his and maybe paint it up that way. Hopefully F100 will be a pretty straightforward build. I like to think. But, so that's the story on the Vietnam kits. Most of these, except for the Academy and Tamiya kits, are older pressing. So I really don't have high expectations for them, and hopefully they'll be relatively quick builds. But it's just like this one. It's just this has not fought me as much as the A4. God, that thing, the Ace Hobby, that thing's just an unholy mess. But when I'm done with this, I tack glued the nose on so I can pull it off because I got to put a weight in the nose. But this is great when this is a great kit when you're 10 or 12 or 14 years old. But it's, again, I can see daylight through these gaps, and so it's just going to be something to build for the fun of, because I built it as a kid. Weight the nose, get it done. I'm not going to get lost in the weeds on this. Shoot it in aluminum. Few touch-ups. I've already got the engine painted black and the props and the insides and stuff. Table out the canopy, put a few stripes on it, and just put decal it and put it on the. You take a few photos for the viewers build, put it on the shelf. Just a relaxing, fun build, which is half the idea of this thing. I mean, have a good time. Don't. Thing I like about these kits that you know you're never going to super detail them is you don't sweat them. You just enjoy it. There is one other Vietnam build that I'd like to get done in time, and that is this AFV quarter-ton Jeep the M38, and I hopefully will. Oh, here it is. Haven't even taken out of the cello yet, but a lot of parts though. Pretty detailed kit. And this is one of those that I might build the engine and everything and pose it on the side, because I never cared for posing model cars with the hoods up. Ruins the lines. I'd rather build the engine and put it as a side display. But Martin Baker E-seats. Yeah, Baker's death at 42. That's correct. Lance is right. You guys have all heard of Martin Baker seats, probably, if you're into aircraft at all. Martin Baker, probably, the U.S. uses. The British make some of the best ejection seats in the world. They come from Martin Baker. And Martin Baker were business partners, and Baker was killed in 42, couldn't get out of the airplane. So Martin made it his life he dedicated himself to making ejection seats, and it's probably saved a lot of people's lives as a result. 147 in the chat. Yay! Anyway, on to other things. I want to thank my wife for painting Sam and Dean for me. I put the rough paint job on them, but she made them look plausible. If you guys are Supernatural fans, they look perfectly with the Impala. And trust me, when I was done with them, and you're looking at 125 scale characters up close. They look real good on the table, and in fact, let me get another picture so you can see what. Browse this PCD. Let's go to. Yeah. Okay. Let's make that fit the screen. They look really good by that 67 Chevy. Baby. Metallic car. So, anyway, I just want to make sure to give her a big thanks for that. And, my wife and I are big fans. I don't know if you guys ever watched the TV show Supernatural, but you got two guys with guns and a hot rod, running around shooting up ghosts and goblins. I'm like, what's not to love? And Dean even carries a Chrome 45 automatic, all pretty engraved. I looked at having that done in my 45, and it was going to be about $2,000. Like, yeah, I don't like it that much. That was everything I had set aside for the night. We have talked about my calamity with the shelf. And
let's talk about how many times did you have a kid that fought you every step of the way. And when you were done with it, you hated it, and everybody thought it looked great.
You mean like the one you just did?
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to put a picture up here?
Yeah, go ahead. Put a picture
Well,
up.
let me run grab it. Guys, Steve did a beautiful job on this model car, but I've been getting phone calls from him all week about how much he hates that kit. So while I'm looking for the picture, why don't you fill him in on the details?
I was given this Maya 12 scale Formula One Matra kit by a gentleman who has a car museum, and he asked me to build it for him, which I agreed. And it was just one of those kits that it was one step forward, two steps back the entire way. I mean, just when you think you got ahead of it, it would reach out and bite you. And you'd have to redo this and redo that. It didn't stay together. And problems with the paint. And, it was just one nightmare after the next. And then when I went to finish it this morning and I went to put the decals on, I couldn't get the decals to sit right. I tried all kinds of setting solution. And it was just, I just finally brought it over and gave it to him. And he thought this was the greatest thing since Sunshine, and so did everybody else. And I was like, okay, I'm glad you're happy. But it just gave me fits, and so I just couldn't appreciate what it was, because I was just beside myself on this thing.
Okay, this is weird. I'm in. Oh, there it is. I went right past it. It's amazing. I start looking for a model, a picture, and like it's not in here, and you go right past it. Okay, hold on. Transform.
Because it was such a memorable build.
So you said this is a Matra?
Yeah, it was a Formula One Matra.
And this is Jackie Stewart's car.
Yes, it was one he started with before he got with Ken Terrell.
Well, what's the story of the actual car?
It was a French Formula One car made by Matra in the 70s. And it was competitive. It wasn't like, a world beater. But it was a decent car.
You look at all the wiring on that engine?
Yes, and all the fuel lines and all the brake lines. And it was just a frigging nightmare. The radiator lines. Oh, yeah.
Oh! Shoot. Oh, God. The screen went blank for a second. I thought I'd killed the live stream. It was just, I just minimized the screen. Oh, God. Okay, pardon me while I have my micro stroke.
Did I send you other pictures, or was that the other one?
No, I just grabbed one that showed the whole car. But I wanted to just, because I want to save something for the viewers, Bill. We don't give it all away at the bar. That is, man, I just look at all, what is 125 scale?
No, it's like 112.
Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. Because I'm looking at all this wiring and tubing, and I'm looking at the fixtures and the fittings. I'm like, God, just how much of a microscope and automatic tweezers do you have?
It was a nightmare, because every time they got the lines on, they'd come off. Every time trying to get the fuel lines on and go into the fuel distribution there. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. And then the front bulkhead, it has the whole front suspension and carries the nose.
Mm-hmm.
The thing would keep popping off, and I'm like, why? It's just nuts. And those two little triangular chrome sort of fins that are behind the wheels.
I was going to ask about those.
They'd come off like at least once a day. It was just, and doing the exhaust pipes, wow.
Well, Dale Comer's saying that the Matra had the 76 and 78 engines have a sound like no other.
Yeah, they sound like a screaming banshee.
Okay, so they're actually a higher pitch than a lot of the others.
So yeah, for their day they were. Yeah.
Well, Paul's impressed, and that's saying something because he makes some beautiful models himself. But
okay. Well, I'm glad he likes it.
But I know you had a lot of trouble with the decals also.
Oh God, the decals were a nightmare. I mean, I don't know whether it was. This is an old kit. It's not this particular one is not a current, kit that they're selling. This guy's
Right, it's
had
a vintage
it
kit,
for a while. So the decals, I don't know. But the biggest problem I had were with the roundels with the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get them to sit straight. I mean, they'd have a wrinkle, they'd have a bubble, use setting solution. The ones on the side were nightmares because if you look at the side of the car, there's rivets in the side pods.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing had to sit right over the rivets went right through the middle of the decal.
He's so much fun.
And to get the thing to sit straight was just a nightmare. And the other thing was, these wheels in the back of the, for lack of a better word, in the back of the hubs, they're octagonal shaped, and you have little nuts you put in there, and then you have screws, and you're supposed to screw the wheels in to the nut, which is held in place. And this way the wheels will turn. These screws wouldn't catch the safe. I spent hours trying to get these things to work, and they wouldn't. I finally just glued the wheels on.
Where was the something? Somebody. Oh gosh, I got to switch glasses. There's a funny comment in here. Where was? Oh yeah.
Nice job, Sam.
The Dreamberry tea bucket fodder. By the way, to Dreamberry, I don't know if you were on earlier, but now you've got to do the song. I was using Paint It Black in the music. Somebody said Paint It Flat Black, so now you got to do that song to Paint It Flat Black. Somebody was poking fun at his Scottish accent a second ago, and oh yeah, there it is, Teenager in Sack. Jackie Stewart of the Food Mutaka Company. Well, speaking of cat...
If it wasn't for Jackie Stewart, there'd be a lot more guys that would have died in Formula One since then.
Yeah, you talked earlier about some of the safety protocols he instituted.
He was the one behind the safety protocols being put in and organizing the drivers to say, if you're not going to make it safe, we're just not going to race.
Uh-huh.
And he was instrumental in getting a lot of the safety precautions in that have saved many lives. I mean, nowadays, you see a Formula One race and there's an accident. I mean, the guys walk away.
Yeah.
In the old days, they were dead instantly. The cars would either catch on fire, they'd blow up, or there was no protection. They'd die of, bodily injuries, and you don't see that anymore. The tracks are safer, and the cars are safer, and that's all due to his efforts. He really was a good ambassador for the sport in making it better, besides being a great driver. Yeah. Oh, hey, there's the limo.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that before I forgot. Guys, Corey, who made this custom, this is a model of the famous world's longest car that's currently on display at Desertland in Orlando. And I'm just showing the one picture. He sent me a bunch of build photos. This is a largely kit bash scratch built kit. There are some actual kit car parts on it, no surprise. But he is provided, nothing goes wrong. He's going to be with us next week as a guest, and he sent me. We're going to go over how he made this amazing model of the world's longest car, which started out not almost. He's going to tell the story. Basically, started out as a dare, and that I've already spoken to him, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy that. But I was like, how do you even make something like? Well, never mind how you make the real one, but I actually found making the model more impressive. So we'll be talking about that next week. I just wanted to get that little promo kick out there.
And that model is spectacular. I mean, having seen the real car, which you saw with me when we were down at Desertland, I mean, it's just an amazing model. It really is. And most of it's handmade.
Well, guys, that wraps up all the kit model stuff that I had for right now. So we're going to wrap up at 9 o'clock, but that still leaves us about a half hour. So I just noticed the rear instrument panel on this thing is crooked. Everything's in the right place. There. Surgically removed it. I can get it in there straight later. But it was really starting to annoy me.
Hey, listen, since we're now off topic.
Yeah, we are done with the Maxis Models live stream is now, for kit models, is now officially over. We can now talk about anything other than politics.
Guys, what kits are you anticipating that are coming out that you can't wait to get your hands on and build? Let's ask that one.
Okay, so are you guys anticipating any special kits? Oh, I got a quick story for you. The other night at my sister's house having dinner, and I had mentioned that the actor Dave McCallum had passed, and she goes, "Oh, and like most girls, teenage girls in the '60s, she had a crush on him when he was playing Ili Kyriakin." And I said, "Yeah, and he also played Ducky." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't realize that she didn't make the connection." And she goes, "I just remember the Man from U.N.C.L.E. They had this really cool little car." I said, "You mean the Piranha?" And she goes, "Yeah, that was such a cool car." I was like, "Oh my God, they got a kit model at Hurricane Hobbies right now." And I was thinking maybe I build one for her for Christmas or something. But need a little 125 scale Ili Kyriakin to go with it with his Man from U.N.C.L.E. gun. And so I thought that was interesting that of all things my sister would remember the cool car they had, when in fact Dave McCallum and Robert Vaughn hated that car. I saw an interview with them. They were talking about, the doors wouldn't stay open. It got hot inside. It was just a prop car, so it didn't have any fancy features, like air conditioning. And they were in a plexiglass bubble, and they were just like, "Oh, we begged them to get rid of that thing." But it looked cool, man, and that's what matters on the TV. Paul's looking for the Airfix SRN-1 hovercraft, which I just saw is going to be reissued. That, the Artemis SLS by AMT, okay, yeah. C-Lab 3, I know a lot of people.
C-Lab 3. C-Lab 3, Brian's looking for.
Merkava, the rumored F-35C.
All right, Jack Fleming. Green Hornets, Black Beauty.
Don't you already have one?
No, I got 2 on the way from round 2. They should be here by Monday.
It's nice to be in the industry.
Well, I'm building a diorama of the garage with the rotating floor.
I bumped into Brett at Hurricane Hobbies, who does all those magnificent models they have on display, and he showed me a picture of a B1 he's working on. He's already got it at the house all taped off and everything. I was like, man is a machine. He knocks out. He makes it look so easy, which kind of ticks me off. Looking forward to the release of the Volume Curtiss A-18 Shrike. There is an unusual airplane. That's when the Air Force actually started getting modern. Yeah, the Black Beauty, definitely. The AMT Piranha Spy Car instructions look typically bad AMT. Oh, Bill's got the hovercraft.
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah. Hey, I'd like to see the build on that, Bill.
HMS Ford. 1 to 700 kit.
Meanwhile, anybody seen that preview on HPI Guys where he showed the box of the Black Beauty? That is the most spectacular model.
Yeah, you love that box art. Yeah, it's got that, was it green streaks behind it and everything? And
yeah, but the whole box is so descriptive of what's in the kit. I've never seen a box that went to that level of detail, showing you actually what's in the kit.
Well,
69 Barracuda, Rob's waiting for it. That's being shipped now.
I've had a couple of people send me pictures of T-28 canopies, and every one of them, if the front canopy, the both canopies are open or they're both closed. I don't know if the rear canopy could open independently or not. When I was in the T-34, which is a Beechcraft product, the canopies opened together. You couldn't open just one. So
Jack's waiting for the Revell 007 Aston Martin DB5. That's part of the Bond series of kits they're releasing around different Bond movies. And that's an all-new tool. That should be an interesting kit.
Yeah.
And then they're going to repop the Gemini capsule, too.
Well, yeah, I've heard that. Supposedly, Atomic City was going to do a one. You remember the big Mercury capsule they did? I have one. Supposedly they were going to do a Gemini capsule, never did. Teenager in Sack just sent me a picture of an old monogram box art that shows an AVT-28 with only the rear canopy open, but that's for the model. So, I mean, it's possible that's the way it worked. Or, you know, the instructor might just, you know, say, look, you got to keep the canopy shut and bake alive while I sit out here in the cool breeze of the prop blast. Because I'm a sadist. Welcome to Pensacola in the summer.
Lance said he just got the Gemini kit. He said it's really good. He said, but the hatches aren't hinged, so they have to be either glued, open, or closed.
But, you know, that's not a big deal, because if you're going to make a working hinged canopy on a model, it's going to take away some of the details so that you have a big enough area, you know, for a pin or something. I mean, anytime you have something that actually works on a kit model other than lights, you pretty much have to get rid of some detail. Holy crap. I just found a picture of testing of the Yankee extraction system. You guys have got to see this. Hold on. You know what? There's two of them. Let me get this other picture in. Oh my goodness. I've never actually seen a picture of one of them working before. Hang on. It's going to take me some. I'm making Bakes a little montage thing here. Real quick in real time. Artwork in real time. Oh, Jiminy Crickets. This is awesome. Hold on. Resize that. 200. Okay. I remember, guys, I'm throwing this together real fast here, so no criticisms on the... Okay, file, save as. Okay, go here. Close that, close that. Okay. Okay, picture, image. Browse. Okay. Live streams 124. There it is. This is testing the Yankee extraction system for real. That is a human being being blasted out of the back of an SNJ by a rocket on a lanyard. And this is the first time I've ever actually seen a picture of one of them working.
Wow.
So the rocket goes up, the lanyard extends, and I guess it's about, what is that, about 12, 15 feet long, and then just drags you out of the airplane. That's some pretty awesome stuff.
Wow. I don't think I'd want to be on the end of that rope.
Well, it beats going down with the ship, I guess. I have no idea, like I say, if there were any successful actually saves of this thing. That'd make a pretty cool little diorama. Anybody's got an old SNJ model and wondering what to do with it. I want to do something different. There you go.
John Jones says it's Wile E. Coyote stuff, right?
Hey, what do you want to bet it was made by the Acme?
Greenberry just said by Acme.
I saw a model and I painted it flat black. It's stuck in my head now. Daryl, you got to do that one. Sorry, you just got to now. Somebody gave me a really good bad idea the other day with a comment they made, but fortunately I didn't write it down and forgot about it. And I hate that because somebody made a joke about something like that, and I was like, that might make an interesting kit bash. I might have to go back and check the comment sections now. But, wow. That's a kick in the britches.
Herman just said the guy walks around like an accordion afterward.
But he did walk around. I actually worked with a fellow who flew Skyraiders in Vietnam in the Air Force. And I didn't appreciate how many of them we lost. He was talking about his squadron lost like 7 airplanes and pilots, and I don't think any of them got out. And I also didn't realize that by the time that the North Vietnamese had been equipped with the little shoulder-fired SA-7 Grail missiles, and they were super effective against Skyraiders. That big radial engine was a big enough heat source for them. And they were always flying heavy and high humidity, so one of those things hit the engine. That was all she wrote. But anyway, there were two guys who never had to buy. There were two kinds of people who never had to buy drinks in the officers' bar in the Air Force and the Navy, and those are the guys that flew the Sandies, and those are the guys that flew the pararescue helicopters. That fished pilots out because they were. I actually knew a guy that flew the Jolly Greens in the Army, and he was a PJ pilot, and he retired as a major, I think. But anyway, and very unassuming fellow, and I was like, so you guys had to just sit there and let them shoot at you? And he goes, that was the job, Hopefully all they had were small arms, and you'd hear tink, tink, tink as the stuff went through the aluminum. Hope they didn't hit anything important. And
Did he look like Mickey Rooney?
about that size. But anyway. So, well, look what happened to Mickey Rooney and Earl Holliman trying to do that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take much to bring it down.
Especially not one of those little Korean warbirds. In fact, I was just doing some research for Mike Mishap. Told him, we build those aircraft maybe for the battleship that they got delivery of that museum battleship's like 9 or 10 feet long. So, maybe we can do some aircraft for you. And we made, they see how much storage space they have and display space and everything. But let's see, where did I put it? Great. I love it when I go to the trouble to make these slides and they can't remember where I put them. Yeah, 20 minutes. Let's see. Well, anyway, it's apparently the battleships, the Iowa class, since it's the Iowa they have the model of. First airplane on the battleship was the OS-2U Kingfisher. That did get replaced by the SC-1 Seamew that we talked about at when I went and saw those models that his friend had, Jim had. And then the ship went into mothballs. And they dragged it out in 52. And the old Dragonfly helicopter, I think the Navy, it was known as both the H-5 and I think the HO-2S, I believe. The same thing Mickey Rooney was flying in the bridges of Toko-Ri. That was the next aircraft to be based on it. They had, put a helipad on it. And then it basically, at one point or another, virtually every helicopter in the Navy landed on that thing. But those and the later on the Command Sea Sprite were actually, I think, based on the ship, and a series of helicopters. But I don't. Apparently, I don't know the helicopters. The ships had the helipad to take deliveries and stuff. But after the Korean War, I don't know if the helicopter was actually a standard piece of equipment. They did put the little HU-2 or 3 HUP helicopter on it, and I think that may have been the last helicopter that was actually attached to the battleship. Then they had drones also, but you had stuff that operated off the ship, and then you had stuff that was assigned to the ship as part of the ship's complement. But I think later on the helicopters, I don't think they were actually assigned to the ship like they had been before. It's really hard to keep that stuff straight. But they went through various helipads because for a long time they had the big crane on the stern of the ship. And once that crane was removed, then they could change the helipad so helicopters could come straight in. But I found pictures of 2 or 3 helicopters parked on the stern of the Iowa. I'm like, holy crap. I didn't know you could fit that many in there. And real mishmash. But I don't think they were assigned to the ship. I think they were just there for some operation.
I have something I'd like to say.
Found it.
How many of you troopers watch Steve Magnante's videos of the builds he does? He does some really cool car builds. Steve is pretty sick. He's in the hospital. He's got encephalitis. And he's going to be down for a while. So if you guys could go on his YouTube channel and watch as many of his videos as you can so he gets a lot of hits and he gets some money while he's in the hospital, it would be greatly appreciated.
Do you have a link and I can put it in the comment section?
I will get it and send it to you.
Okay, we'll do that. Always want to support a fellow modeler.
He's got some fantastic builds. I don't know if any of you guys watch his channel. I do, because he's a really like a kit historian of older car kits, but he does these great mashup kits that he makes that are phenomenal.
What's the name of his channel?
It's Steve Magnante. I'll get the exact name of it, and I'll go on and find it out now while you're doing this, and
Okay.
I'll put it up.
All right, do that, and I'll. Well, I got a picture up here. This is the montage picture that I put together earlier, and it shows the various aircraft that operated off of the battleship Iowa. And these are some of the aircraft we'll build models of for the museum display. You got the Kingfisher at the upper left, then the Seamew post-war, then 52 you got the little Dragonfly that gets replaced by the Hup. And I'm not sure, but the Hup may have been the last helicopter or last aircraft that was organic to the ship. The Sea Kings, the Sea Knights, the Sea Sprites, and the Seahawk. Ironically, the Seamew, the SC-1 was a Seahawk, and so was the USH-60. But those, I don't know if those were actually assigned to the ship or if they were just worked there for operations. But you'll notice the photo on the far right, there's a Dragonfly and 3 H-19s or HOS-4s, HO-4, I always get the Navy designation confused. I didn't know you could stick 4 helicopters on there. And there's some Hueys in the upper center. That was taken, I think, during the Vietnam War. The center photo where it says Up 27, I forgot the name of the chopper, Lucky Lady or something like that. Anyway, that was actually assigned to the ship. And they got something as big as that big old Sea Stallion down there at the bottom to land on it. So it's a Marine Corps chopper, so I'm pretty sure it's not organic to the ship. But, and you can tell it sideways because they back then, they had to come in from an angle. You can see the crane on the stern on the right, which is why they had to come in sideways. But once that was removed, they could come in straight over the tail. Excuse me, over the fan tail. So, I don't think it ever had a Seamew on it, and I don't think it ever had. It came in late enough that it probably never had the SOC, the biplane. And good Lord, I get confused. SO3C and SOC3, not the same thing. But out of water. Did you find it?
Yes. I'll put it up in the chat.
Okay. If you can shoot it to my email, I'll put it in the comments section. Alrighty then. So, where were we? The Jeep. That's a lot of detail for a 135 scale kit.
Okay, yeah, I put it up.
Okay. It hasn't popped up on mine yet. I wonder if it's, well, I got Trey, I got Paul. I don't have yours popping up yet. Maybe hung up in cyberspace. Fashionably late, but here now. Hey, Dario.
Yeah, I'm like 3 before Dario.
I'm not showing you here. I wonder if putting a YouTube address somehow screened it out or blocked it. Have you emailed it to me?
No. Let me put it up again. I just put it up.
Okay.
It's up on mine. It just came up after Garfield.
For some reason, it's not coming. Are you guys seeing Steve's Model Mania post with the address to?
Yeah, Bill says, Max, I just sent you a video on Steve's condition and asking to view the channel. So
Okay. I'm looking at my
I mean,
inbox.
it's on my screen, but you know, I sent you the link on Messenger, according to Bill Campbell.
Okay. Okay, Messenger, I don't... Can you shoot it to my regular Yahoo email?
Yeah, I'll just send it to your email.
Okay. Okay. I'm just looking to see if... sometimes these things get hung up in cyberspace. Sometimes they read them as spam. Sometimes like, oh, we can't, you know, they won't post something that's got certain links in it. Okay. Well... And sometimes
I just emailed it to you.
Okay. Might take it a second.
Yeah, probably got taken down because people aren't seeing it.
Okay. Yeah, that happens.
It's Steve Mags, MAGS.com.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let me go here. Settings.
Garfield says write it down on a piece of paper and hold it up in front of the screen.
Yeah, really. Okay. Okay. One letter at a time. Spell her out.
STEVEMAGS.com.
SteveMags.com. And is that, you know, if that's the name of his, same as his YouTube channel?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's YouTube censoring. Let me see if I can do it here from the command center. Oh, you know, that wouldn't be a link, though. Let's see.
Yep.
Okay, I'm seeing it on mine. I don't know if you guys are. I got it as 2 words. Okay. Well, we all we know where to go now, Steve.
We got it.
Oh, good. I'm just curious about something. Okay. I got it here. Cool website. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of we got it, I got it, I see
Okay,
it, we got
everybody's
it.
got it. Good. All right.
Yeah.
And I've got it open on the other side there, so great. Excellent.
Okay, so everybody's getting it. They're typing it in. It's
How
coming
do you
up.
get encephalitis? Isn't that like a
Brain. It's a brain
yeah,
infection.
Jesus. That's some hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of ammunition. You guys got anything?
Like Paul Adams said, pen and pencil come to the pen and paper came to the rescue.
The pen is mightier than the electron.
Yeah.
Well, ooh, I just thought of something. Well, just as long as screen capture. Hold on. Ha ha! Paint. Because I'm old school, baby. Crop. View. Zoom out. Home. Crop. Ha 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 ha. I'm smarter than the average bear.
And it's one word, stevemags.com. It's no space.
Go live streams 1, 2, 4. Okay. And where did I save it to? File, save as. Yeah, that's where I saved it. Okay. So. It was right in front of me. Again, can't find the picture. And fit to screen. There we go. There we have it.
So watch as many of his videos as you can because he gets paid by the amount of watches he gets, and he probably is going to be down for a while, so he could use the income stream.
Glad to help.
And he's a really nice guy. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay, I did a crappy screen grab.
That's his Junkyard Crawl channel.
Dadgummit. My mouse is acting up, so it's making it hard to... There we go. Crop, file, save as. Save, yes. Okay. Delete. I'm just denuding some of my... Okay. File. Save. I got a little bit better screen grab here now. Okay. Plus image 10. Browse.
Great, guys. Thanks a lot, because that'll be a big help. And he's like I say, he's a really nice guy. And he's a really skilled modeler.
There we
He knows a hell of a lot about regular cars too.
So now you can see the whole thing, and it's got his address up the top. So, very good. More than happy to help him out. Hope things work out for him, to be sure. There, but for the grace of God, go any of us. Okay. So, doing our civic duty.
He took a Johan turbine car
Mm-hmm.
and made an altered wheelbase, fuel-injected Hemi match racer out of it.
He's like, that was a modeling muse, makes whacking these things down look so easy.
He was on the channel with the modeling muse guy.
I'm sure they drink from the same well of styrene.
Yeah. They were at a car show together, and he was showing them his kits, and I was like, holy God.
Yeah, thanks for making us all feel good, guys.
That Muse guy is a close friend of Keeler's.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's going on 9 p.m. We got a few minutes left, so guys, if you got anything you want to bring up, now'll be the time to do so. Hopefully going to have Corey with us next week. And now, there is one little thing I want to touch on, and I've harped on this before. You already know about it. With the upcoming training, things are going to slow down here for a little while. Oh, I forgot to turn this lamp on. I've done this whole show with poor lighting. Oh my god, I don't know. Less light on my face, probably the better it looks. Right now, November is the training month, and then December, hopefully, will be the OE. So from pretty much now to the end of the year, you'll probably be seeing a little bit of less and less of stuff. I've been on vacation, days off right now, so I've been able to put a lot of stuff out. So I may be pushing the builds back a little bit, just buy us all more time. But once everything's done, the training's out of the way, and I can de-stressify and focus on, the styrene. I'll still be building models in the meantime, trying to put together viewers builds, but the whole group build thing, that may fluctuate. I have this overloaded schedule. I'm going to build all of my Vietnam kits, which is like 9 or 10 kits, because I don't know how to say no. I missed the Vietnam War by a few years. I went active duty in '79, but most of the NCOs I served with were Vietnam veterans. A lot of our equipment had been in the rice paddies. We had UH-1s at Fort Campbell that had plenty of bullet hole patches in them. I'm sure the M16s we were issued, they were the A1s. I'm sure they were holdovers even though I didn't fight in it, I didn't have to go over there, I grew up during it like a lot of us did. And so it's kind of an important build for me, because it's a time a lot of people, unfortunately, it's hard to believe, I remember going to meet these Vietnam veterans when they were in their 20s. And now you go to these, like the VFW or whatever, or go to a Veterans Day parade, and the non-vets are on their 70s and 80s. And I'm like, Jesus, I remember when World War II veterans were in their 50s. So you realize the march of time, and it's a little concerning that, things like Midway and Coral Sea and Okinawa and Normandy, to a lot of people, they have the same echo as Shiloh or, Crimea or, depending on what country you're from, of course. Everybody's got a different history, but it's like, it's not going to be that long. Or a lot of people today already see the First World War in the same vein as they see the American Civil War. And it won't be that long before they see the Gulf War the way we look at World War II. So, it's just, and I hate to see that happen. People lose their eye of history, because what's that was the poet philosopher Santayana said? Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. History offers.
And that's not what we want to repeat.
Yeah, there are lessons to be learned that are often generationally forgotten, and they have to be relearned. And but anyway, I think most people who build models at some level are history buffs, because most of the stuff, some of us build modern new stuff, and a lot of us are futurist oriented also, especially the sci-fi and space guys. But a lot of us, I saw a survey that was really concerning, that it was 40+% of people under 40 or under 30 don't really believe we ever went to the moon. And I'm kind of like, oh God, talk about cultural vandalism. And the same kind of people that build models are the same kind of people that are the protectors of history, because we love it. It's kind of intertwined with it, and it's, so I used to think of model building as nothing more than just a hobby. But the more, as I get older, the more I realize is, in our own little way, even if it's not by design, we're trying to preserve some of our history.
So, let me put it to you this way. I don't know how a lot of other people feel, but I always feel an enormous debt of gratitude to the veterans who went and fought before my time.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't have had the life I had if they didn't do what they had to do to make the country the way it was when I grew up.
That's simple historical awareness, and I think it's a thing that's lost on a lot of people. And anyway, we don't get political here, but I think we all have the same concerns about a shift. People are forgetting, the things that made we. I think most of us grew up at a great time and had a great life, and there are so many. Maybe not us personally, but our parents or our grandparents. In many cases, our parents were survivors of the Depression or World War II. I mean, they remember these things. So you at least you're raised being told. I'll bet you everyone watching this at some point was told by their parents, "Finish your vegetables, or children starving in China," or something like that. And you were supposed to appreciate what you had because your parents had grown up without. And I'm afraid, unfortunately, we're a couple of generations removed from that, and a lot of people have never done without, and they just think everything's. This is the way it's supposed to be. I'm always supposed to have a full belly and a warm bed. That's just the way of things, and
that's one of the reasons why the model kit industry grew from the 50s into the 70s, because the things that were built or either military aircraft from the war that was, being taught in schools, and you saw movies and things on television, and the economy was getting better because of what people did by going to the war, and the other consumable products, the cars, things like that. It was what you saw every day, what you read in the papers, what you read in history books.
Well, personally, I feel blessed to have been born when I was, and I mean, we'd all like to be 19 again, I think, but I wouldn't mind being 19 again if I could keep the knowledge base that I've acquired over a lifetime. I wouldn't want to go through being 19 again today.
No.
But
I'd like to have Biff's book from Back to the Future and go back and be 19.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Well, guys, that's it for tonight. Yes, Captain Ken hopefully will be with us next week. And what can I tell you? It's we live in the world we live in, and things are what they are. We're making the best of it. We're doing what we can with what we got, and no shame in that. What was that old saying? I forget, it was Bill Jordan or Jeff Cooper, one of them, who it was. This I think he wrote the book to shoot straight, speak the truth, and ride tall in the saddle, something like that. I forget the title of the book, but I was like, it's a code to live by, and maybe that's part of the problem is a lot of people aren't raised with much of a code anymore. But now I'm just sounding like a gripey old man. Well, guys, I'm going to let everybody go. Steve, I want to thank you for joining us. And
my pleasure.
Look forward to having Corey with us next week. And I have to go to work in a couple of days, so like I say, there won't be a lot of content coming out this week, but maybe some over the weekend. I'm currently fighting with that Skyhawk, and I will be victorious. Because remember, if that model doesn't come out good, there's always another crash diorama dying to be made. Guys, I'm going to loop the outro so you can chat amongst each other. Take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.
shine. We were born to love one another. This is something we all need. We were born to love one another. We must be what we're going to be. And what we have to be is free. Love is understanding. We gotta be free. Love is understanding. We gotta be free. In this generation, love is understanding. We gotta be free. We gotta be free. We gotta be free. We gotta be free. If only you believe like I believe, baby, like I believe, we get by. If only you believe, if only you believe in miracles, so would I. If only you believe like I believe, baby, like I believe, we get by. If only you believe, if only you believe in miracles, so would I. Might have to move heaven and earth to prove it to you, baby, So we're making love. Feel the power, I feel the power. Then there's really nothing we can't do. You know we could, you know we could. If we wanted to, you know we could exist on the stars. Yeah, it's so easy. All we gotta do is get a little faith in me. Oh, I've been so many places, I've seen something. Yes, I have. I know love is the answer. Yes, it is. Keeps holding this world together. Ain't nothing better, ain't nothing's better, and all the answers to our prayers. Hell, it's the same everywhere. It's the same now. Nothing ever breaks at the heart. Only tears giving way now. And you're right where I found you, oh baby, with my arms around you. Oh, baby, baby, baby. Love is a magic word. Ooh, yeah. If you ever find in a lifetime, but from